Boom. We are officially recording this session, so let us begin. Let me just refresh, make sure that everything is accurate, make sure that all the readings are sound. But anyways, obviously we understand that the first thing that we always want to do when we are about to trade is we want to first check out the news. Looks like it's going to be a good day today. Now, the reason why we're checking the news, obviously, is we want to see if, there's going to be any volatility in the market, there's going to be any, news in the markets, so that we prepare ourselves, right? So that we prepare ourselves and we know what it is that we want to look at, what we don't want to look at, and why we want to look at the specific currency, and why don't we want to look at a specific currency pair. So the news tell us exactly that, so they tell us whether or not, there's going to be, especially with our type of trading, which I always say, we always want to be very vigilant and, really, see and observe, what's happening, because our style of trading is quick, it's money in minutes. So, we need to make sure that when we are jumping into the markets, the markets are as calm as possible. And, there's not going to be any sudden, movements or sudden changes in the market, markets changing, gaining strength or losing strength, and yeah, so that's why for me, like, it's very important. It's one of the most important things for us to first check out the news, especially with our style of trading, so that we are avoiding any things that are unnecessary, any things that would, go against us, if we were to trade whilst there is that specific thing. Now, we always have 4 different types of folders. We can see here we only have 2. And the 2 that we have are the 2 that I like, right? Because these are the 2 that you always want to see, right? So obviously, there is your yellow folder, there is your orange folder, there is your red folder, and there's your silver folder, right? Now, silver folder means bank holiday, like I always tell you guys, right? And remember, your banks are the market movers, right? Banks make up 80% of the foreign exchange market, right? So if a specific bank is then closed, right, for example, if there's a bank holiday in America and the USD, right, that means that, there's not going to be as much influx of capital into the market as possible because the banks is closed, right? So, it's very important for us to keep tabs on which banks are open, which banks are closed, so that we know which currencies to look out for and which ones, to trade. And then obviously your red is your high impact, right? That's, your volatile markets, right? So red means danger, red means stay away. So you definitely don't want to be in the markets around, red folders, right? When there's red folders, especially like I said, with our style of trading, which is very quick, right? So that's the second type of folder. And then your third folder is your orange folder. And your fourth folder is your yellow folder. Now, your yellow means low impact. Your orange means medium impact. Now, you can trade when you have these 2 folders. So what does that mean today? It means that today is actually a good day to trade, because we can actually see there's going to be low impact and medium impact news. There's not going to be any high impact news. There's not going to be any volatility in the markets, right? So I'm loving today. I'm loving today. So now that we've looked at the news, we've identified and we've seen what it is that we want to see, and we understand that, okay, today is going to be a good day to be in the markets. The next thing that we want to do now is this. We want to start looking at the strength, because we now want to start identifying the different types of trends, right? Do we have an uptrend? Do we have a downtrend, right? Because remember, the trend is your friend, right? The trend is your friend. So you always, always, always want to move with the trend. You never want to move against the trend, right? It's like swimming. See, swimming instructors always tell you that when you're swimming in the sea, all right? You always, when you feel like you're drowning, you always want to ride the wave. You always want to move with the wave, right? Where's the tide going, right? Move where momentum is going, right? Because the waves are going to wash you back to shore, right? You never want to swim against the tide or swim against the waves, because that's how you're going to end up drowning. See, that's exactly how the market works as well, right? You never want to go against the trend, because that's how you're going to lose money, right? So you always want to try your best to identify the different trends so that you can continue with those trends and move with those trends. Because remember, we are not the market movers, right? So we do not control the markets. So our duty is to study what the markets are doing, study the direction they want to take, identify what the market movers are trying to do, and then latch on to that move and ride the wave, right? That's our duty. So how can we then identify these types of trends? So we understand, okay, now we're on an uptrend, now we're on a downtrend, and so on and so forth, right? Now, there are a lot of currency pairs, right? Now, in a currency pair means, the pair means two, right? So in a currency pair, there's two currencies. There's your first currency, which is your base currency, and then there's your second currency, which is called your quote currency, right? Now, every time now, I'm referring now to an uptrend, right? Every time we are on an uptrend, right? What needs to happen is that the first currency, which is a base currency, needs to be stronger than the second currency, which is a quote currency. Now, I'll give you guys an example: USD, CHF. Right? Can you all agree that on USD, CHF, USD is the base currency and CHF is a quote currency? Right? You can clearly see that USD is stronger than CHF, right? So because the base currency is stronger than the quote currency, when I open USD CHF, I want to see a market that's pushing to the upside. I want to see an uptrend, right? Why? Because the first currency is stronger than the second currency, right? Now, in a downtrend, now obviously on USD CHF, what am I going to be looking for? I'm going to be looking to buy, right? Why am I buying? Because the first currency is stronger than the second currency, right? That's an uptrend. And on an uptrend, if I'm saying I'm continuing with the trend, then it means that I want to buy that trend, right? And then the second one now is when we are on a downtrend. Now, what happens on a downtrend is that it's exactly the opposite of the uptrend. So on an uptrend, the base has to be stronger than the quote. On a downtrend, the quote has to be stronger than the base. Now I'll give you guys an example. GBP, JPY. Look at GBP, JPY. What can we see on GBP, JPY? We can see that GBP is the base currency and JPY is the quote currency. Now, which one is stronger? It's JPY, right? It's the second currency. So obviously on GBP, JPY as the currency pair, I'm expecting the market to be pushing to the downside. I'm expecting the market to be pushing down. So what am I looking to do on GBP, JPY? I'm looking to sell that market, right? Now, another example of a buy, Euro AUD, right? I could be looking to buy Euro AUD. Why? Let's look at Euro against the AUD. Euro GBP, also another buy, right? Euro against the GBP, right? So now that I've identified the different types of trends, right? I've seen an uptrend here. I'm seeing an uptrend here. I'm seeing a downtrend, right? Downtrend. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at the charts now so that I can actually be able to identify these types of trends, because now the next thing would be for me to continue with these trends and continue moving with momentum. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's go to the charts. Let's go to the charts. Let's start here. Now, look at what happens here, right? GBP, JPY, all right? GBP, JPY. Are we looking for a buy or are we looking for a sell? Drop in the chat box on GBP, JPY. Are we looking for a buy or are we looking for a sell on GBP, JPY? Definitely looking for a sell, right? Definitely looking for a sell. So now what I then want to do is I want to open the charts, and what can we see here? First thing that we can see is that the market has been doing what? It's been selling. Because look at where the market was, look at where the market currently is. You can see that market has been on a downtrend, all right? Market has been on a downtrend, boom, 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 boom. Now remember, our duty is to do what? Is to continue with the trend, all right? So if we're saying we're going to continue with the trend, because the trend is our friend, now remember, right, that on a downtrend, we want to sell. And when we are selling, where do we want to sell? We always want to sell previous what? Previous floors. Because previous floors are going to turn to what? Into current what? Into current ceilings. All right. Previous floors are going to turn to current ceilings. So obviously now I am looking at GBP JPY. And I've got my areas. Now, obviously, we can see how many times price bounced at this area. 1, 2, 3. Eventually broke. All right. This was a ceiling. It turned into a floor. All right. So obviously now, as the market is pushing back, it's going to turn into what again? It's going to turn into a ceiling. You can see 2 touches here. So ideally, right, this is my ideal place for me to want to sell, because we can see obviously that this is a very strong area, because a lot has been happening around this area here. So this is going to be my ideal place because there's too many touches here. So every time market comes to anywhere around this area, it reacts a certain way. But I'm not taking anything against this area here. We can see, market pushed into this area, created a what? Bounced, created a floor, and pushed up, right? I had a floor here. So there's 2 touches on this floor. And we can see price came here again, touched, and pushed up. And if you notice, right, if you look closely, right, between these 2 moves, you can see that price at this area has been dropping every time it comes to around this area. As much as it gave us these 2 long, weeks into this area, but generally, this is where price has been reversing, right? So that's why I'm not taking anything out, from this area here. We can see even how price is reacting from this area. So this is a critical area, but ideally, if price is to push up into this area, that is going to be the better trade. Right? By here, we can see that market, has been respecting this area. Look at how many times market reversed as it consolidates. So what we're waiting for right now is we're waiting for a big drop in the market to break this area. All right. So that's what we're waiting for, because as soon as the market breaks this area, what can we then look for? We can look for market to push up again, to retest this floor, turning into a ceiling, and then boom, market starts to drop again. All right. Now look at what I told you guys. All right. I said best place is going to be this one. Look at how the market is pushing up into that area. Right. So on GBP JPY, my ideal sell area is going to be around these areas here. All right. Now, hopefully this move is gonna happen around the half-hour mark, because remember, I like taking my trades at the 15, at the 30, at the 45, and at the hour mark, because market tends to want to reverse around those intervals. All right, market tends to want to reverse at those intervals. So yeah, this is a critical area. We can see, right, floor, ceiling, 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 ceiling. All right, so the price does push up into this area here. All right, we could really look into taking a nice sell. Obviously, remember I told you guys about this critical area here, and I said that, this was a floor, and look at how many times previously, price has just been consolidating and bouncing at this area multiple times, right? So it might take some time for it to make this push, because it's respecting the selling power that's around here. But ideally, this is where I want the market to push to, and we can see nicely pushing up into that area. But now the thing is, I would ideally want to take this trade at the half-hour mark, right? So because at the half-hour mark, at the 15-minute intervals, which is the 15, the 30, the 45, and the hour mark, those are very critical reversal areas, and reversal timings for me. And I've noticed that the market likes and tends to want to reverse around those times, right? So obviously that's going to be in the next 5 minutes. So this candle right here is going to determine whether or not I take this trade in the next 5 minutes or not, because obviously we can clearly see the market looks like it wants to reverse where it's at, right? But if the market, decides to play how it's playing out right now, we can clearly see it's pushing up into that area. In the next 5 minutes, we could be looking to take this trade for a sell, right? So GBP, JPY for sell in the next 5 minutes. It looks valid, right? It looks like it is ready for a setup. So all that's going to be left right now is for us to wait and see is the patience now. All right, it's the patience. Ooh, this market is breaking this zone heavy. Breaking this area heavy. Obviously, all I need to do is I just need to look at my next potential zone. All right, so obviously every time the market, this is another thing that you guys need to learn, is that when the market breaks your area, all you want to do is just look at your next best area, right? Rechart and look at your next best areas, because obviously, look at here, all right? This area here, right, is also a good area because we have what? We have a ceiling here, right? Red means ceiling. Right? So obviously, if the market comes to anywhere around this area, it's also still a valid area because there was some level of ceilings here where market bounced, all right, and pushed back down. So we could be experiencing something like that again. And obviously, remember, price always leaves clues. So price is going to tell us what it wants to do when it gets to this area. And we can clearly see what price wants to do. Because every time, can you guys see, every time it pushes up into this area, what happens is that it pushes back down. Look at, it's pushing up into the area right now. So let's see how it's going to behave around this area, because its behavior around this area is going to tell us whether or not we want to take this trade or not. Obviously, I want to always make sure that I'm looking at the strength, because look at that. Can you see that? Can you see what happened here? A massive change in strength. We had 4 bars on JPY, but now we only have 4 against the GBP. Yes, JPY is still stronger than GBP, but it's very important for us to note this, and that's why we can notice that market is behaving how it's behaving right now, all right? Because there's been a change in strength. So I always tell people to say that you always want to keep tabs on the strength, all right? Because the strength can change at any time. Because remember, the currencies, they fluctuate every time, every day, all right? So you definitely want to keep tabs. Obviously, still a good area even here, Our GBP/JPY still in a good area, right? We can see ceiling, market pushed up, boom, bounced at the ceiling, pushed back down. We had a floor at this area, 1, 2, 3 touches, right? So this could also just be a good area for the market to sell, all right? But if it breaks this area, then we need to reconsider, all right? We need to reconsider, but let's look at GBP/JPY for a 3 to 5 minute sell, right? 3 to 5 minute sell, right? We've got a critical area here. We had a floor. Our market bounced at this floor, bounced again, came and touched again, all right? And then it broke this floor, turned it into a ceiling, right? Pushed all the way down. It's back at that area again, all right? Now, hopefully from our analysis, right? I mean, we're closing in on timing. Strength is on our side. We've got a ceiling here. We've got previous price action, all right? We've got a lot of variables that are pointing towards the market reversing in the next 16, 15 minutes, all right? So let's see. Look at how the market is behaving every time it pushes into this area. Can you see it drops? So in the next 6, 5, I'm going to take a sell, 4, 3, 2. You can sell GBP/JPY now, all right? GBP/JPY for a 3-minute sell. And look at what the market is currently doing right now. Who's with me? Who's with me? There goes the market. All right, there goes the market. All right, drop some ins if you're in on GBP/JPY with me. All right, drop some ins if you're in on GBP/JPY with me. There goes the market. Can you see that? See, what this is teaching us is that you have to be able to adapt to the market, all right? Because our duty, remember, is to always move with the market movers, right? So our duty is to make sure that we understand what the market movers are doing, because once we understand what the market movers are doing, then we can just ride the wave. So our duty is not to panic. It's not to, rush when the market is breaking our areas. Because remember, this was our first area. What happened? It broke this area. So I was like, okay, what's my next best area? This one. Okay, broke this one. What's my next best area? This one. Okay, broke this one. What's my last area? Here. Now, why did we take this trade on GBP/JPY? See, the first thing, remember, the reason why I took it is I noticed the strength, right? GBP against the JPY. Obviously, the strength changed now because JPY was full, right? But I noticed, right, on a sell, on a downtrend, what do I want to see? I want to see the second currency, which is a core currency, stronger than the first currency, which is the base currency. So that was my first tick, right? My second tick was, let me see what's happening in the chat box. I'm not in the percentage on pocket options, is not worth it. So I'm just watching it melt. Okay. Try also using IQCent as well. IQCent has good payouts, right? IQCent has good payouts, but this was a good trade, right? This was a good trade. Definitely going to clear this trade. We're making money on this trade. So the second reason why I took this sell, see, the first reason was the strength, right? The second reason is timing, right? So remember, I told you guys that I like taking my trades at the 15, at 30, at the 45, at the hour mark, right? Because price tends to want to do what? Reverse. Can you all see that what happened at the 30? Boom, price reversed. Price was on a small uptrend, and then boom, 30-minute mark, reversal. Can you guys see when I say price tends to want to reverse at the 15-minute intervals? You're seeing it live now, right? So that's the second thing, right? I always want to target those reversals because I know that that is when the shift in momentum is going to happen, and that is when market is going to start pushing back towards my direction, which is the direction of the trend. And the trend is what? Is my friend, right? So that's the second reason. So that's my second box that I'm taking. My third box is, am I at a ceiling? Obviously, when I want to sell, I always want to sell at a ceiling. Can we all agree that this is a ceiling? Because look at what happened previously. Price bounced, boom, it pushed down. It pushed up again. So obviously, this is a ceiling because every time price gets here, what does it do? It bounces at this area. So that's my third box. Am I at a ceiling? Because I always want to sell at a ceiling because I know that when I'm at a ceiling, what needs to happen is that price needs to bounce and push back down. Look at what the market is doing. Market pushed up and pushed back down. Boom, we caught that trade. So that's my third box that I'm ticking. My fourth box is previous price action. What has price been doing around the area that I'm trading previously, right? So obviously previously, Look at what happened previously. Previously, price bounced at this area. So that's my first confirmation. Look at here, right? Price gave me a flow, bounced at this area, pushed up. Look at here, the small bounce and push up. Look at here, bounce, push up. So obviously, this is a critical area. Previously, price has been reacting and responding to this area. So that's my fourth confirmation, all right? That, hey, price responds and reacts a certain way around this area, right? And then last but not least, Ivan Cabral's strategy, right? Ivan Cabral's strategy is going to tell me, hey, listen, I had a floor, floor turning into ceiling. And then what do? I look at the last candle. What is the last candle telling me? Where is the last candle closing? Last candle is closing exactly at the ceiling. So what does that mean? It means that I'm ready to now open this new candle with my sell, and then boom, market drops. And that's how we made money. So drop some 333s if this is making sense. All right. And that is how we caught the sell, right? That's how we caught the sell. A beautiful, beautiful touch at the top there, right? Literally got to our area, we got to the ceiling, bounced at the ceiling, we jumped in for the sell, market dropped. We got good profits on that one. Everyone who took that trade should have definitely cleared that trade, right? And we can see if we look to the left, this was a critical area because we had, a floor turning into a ceiling, right? Break and retest of structure, and then market started to drop. So that was a good trade, all right? That was a good trade. Cleared 76 pips. Sheesh. Sheesh. That was a big drop. I'm seeing some people, saying that they cleared that trade, they won. Right. I'm so happy, right, to see you guys winning. Right. That was a good trade. So see, the lesson for this session is the patience, right? And waiting for price to get to a good analysis. And number two is not to panic, right? Because remember, we started saying that, okay, probably potentially this is where the market's going to reverse, but the market kept on pushing up. So what did we do? We didn't panic. All we did was we kept noting all the other critical areas that price had recently respected, with then the idea and the intention to wait and watch and let price guide us as to what it wants to do. Because then what could we see when price got to here? It pushed in, it pushed out, it pushed in, it pushed out. So we could tell that there's some sell level here. There's some strong resistance at this level here. And then what did we do? We jumped in, boom, market fell. Right? Beautiful, beautiful move. Right? So let's look at something else right now. Right? We've completed AU, GBP, JPY. Let's see what we can, what else can we look at? Let's look at AUD, JPY. Let's look at AUD, JPY. AUD, JPY, what do we have here? First things first is that we are looking for a sell, all right? Price is on downtrend, right? So now, what do we want to do? We want to start identifying all our areas where we want to continue with the sell, all right? So I've got this area here. Let me look at my Van Cabral, see, and this is a strong area, very strong area, all right? Validated, all right? So we've got potentially another sell that could take place on AUD JPY very soon. We can see price pushed in, boom, it dropped, pushed in, boom, it dropped. So we could be experiencing another push in and another drop. But I want to make this more educational. So I want to engage you guys. All right. I want to engage you guys. Let's do this. Let's do this. What are we looking for in AUD USD? Right. What are we looking for in AUD USD? Drop in the chat box, AUD USD. Definitely a sell. All right. Definitely a sell. All right. AUD USD for a sell. All right. So let's go check out AUD USD. Definitely a sell. So let's go open AUD USD and see what we're finding here. Boom. What can we see? We can see market has been doing what? It's been selling, right? Now look at here, floor, ceiling, right? Floor turning into ceiling, market doing what? It dropped, all right? Now we can obviously see why the market reversed here, or we can see the market is pushing down at this area, and it's clearly evident as to why it's pushing down. We can see the market starting to push down. It's very evident as to why it's pushing down. Look at previously, all right, we had a massive floor, market came down, boom, bounced at this area, pushed up, and previously we also had a floor here, market came all the way here, bounced, and then made its way to the upside. So we've got a floor, obviously floor has to turn into what? Into ceiling, and that's why we can see market broke this area, pushed up into this area, and then now it's starting to fall. So what I'd like to see, right, is that first probably want to see market break this area. What I'd like to see is I'd like to see market, if there's enough momentum, market to continue from this area, to break this area. And then what I'll be looking for, I'll be looking for the market to probably push back up into this area. And then when that happens, then that is my opportunity to sell and continue with the trend. Now, where is my ideal area for me to sell? So I've got two potential areas that I could want to sell. First one is obviously if the market stays hovering around this area here, I could want to sell, right? Because we are at a good area, right? Previous floors turning into ceiling. But ideally, here's my next area, right? At the retest, after the market has broken this area, came back to take this floor into a ceiling, boom, and then start to drop, right? That would be my next ideal area, right? Obviously now, also, if you notice, we are at the closing in on the quarter two mark, right? Now, this is the next time I like taking my next trade, right? But obviously this trade we can see is already pushing in the direction. Now, I always tell people to say that you never want to catch a moving trade. You never want to chase a trade. So if the market is already making the direction or the move that you wanted it to make, right? You don't want to chase that trade and try and catch it on that move, right? You let that trade go. because you want to catch a trade at the perfect time, knowing very well that if I catch it at this area, right, there is a high probability of me winning this trade because I'm catching it at the good critical area. All right. Now I'm seeing AUD USD starting to break this area now. It's starting to make a heavy push to the upside. All right. So what does that mean? It means I don't panic. It means all I do is I just look at my next best place. Where's my next best place? Let me delete this. Here's my next best place. Just like on GBP JPY, did you see what happened in GBP JPY? It started to make a heavy push to the upside to the next best place. Now, which is the next best place? Obviously, it's this area here. So what do? I rechart my chart, and I'm like, okay, potentially, I could be still looking for the same move, but at a different place right now. So I could be waiting for the market to push up into these areas. And then from there, that's when I can actually start staking myself. Now, obviously, why is this area a critical area? Floor, floor, ceiling, floor, floor, floor. Look at how many things have happened around this area here. All right. So obviously that is my next ideal area where I'd potentially like to start trading this currency, which is AUD USD. But that is only if the market decides that it wants to continue to push up into that area. But we can clearly see that after it broke this area, market hasn't come back to respect this floor. But it has given us two reactions around this area. This was our first one, market fell. All right, this was our second one, market fell. So if it pushes up here, it could be expecting another reaction around this area where we can expect this move, then boom, boom, boom. All right. But remember, I said that you want to let the market guide you, right? The market will tell you what it wants to do. All right. Our duty is just to observe, look at what the market is telling us, and follow and try and identify the trend and ride the wave and move with the trend. Because the trend is a what? What is the trend? Drop in the chat box. What is the trend? The trend is our friend. Exactly. If I'm making sense so far, right? If I'm making sense so far, drop some 222s in the chat, right? So I know that you guys are still with me, eh? Okay, cool, awesome. Yeah, you guys are still with me. You guys are still with me. So let me just look at something else so long. What were we looking at before this? I think we were looking at AUD/JPY. I'm sure. I'm not sure. Look at what AUD/JPY did. Remember, I said that we saw this first move push up and then down, and then second move up and down. Look at what happened at the third one. It pushed up again, touched our area, and then look at what happened, starting to push down again. All right. So obviously this means that this is a critical area because look at how price played out, right? Literally pushed into this area like we marked, and then slowly now starting to push back down. All right. Let's look at one last currency pair. All right, let's look at one last currency pair before we close off the session. I'm thinking GBP USD. Did we look at GBP USD? I think GBP USD was one. No, I think we looked at GBP JPY. What am I looking for on GBP USD? Drop in the chat box what you think I'm looking for on GBP USD, so that we can look at, because I'm looking at the strength between GBP USD, and that's a massive, massive strength. So obviously, I'd love for us to capitalize on this move. All right. So what am I looking for on GBP USD? Definitely looking for a sell. That's correct. All right. Definitely looking for a sell. That's correct. So let me go check out GBP USD. So first things first, are we on a downtrend? Yes, we are. All right, market is pushing down. Now, what do we want to do? We want to identify what? Previous floors. Why? The previous floors are going to turn to current ceilings. Look at what the market is doing right here. What do we have here? We had a floor. Market came here, it bounced. Look what the market is currently doing at this floor. It's reversing. It's treating it as a what? As a ceiling, bouncing at that ceiling, and now dropping. Can you guys see this? Right? So what happened is that we saw the market push down, break this previous floor, come back into that floor, turning it into what? Into a ceiling. Now what happened? Boom, bounce at the ceiling, market dropping. And I want to show you guys something. Look at what time this move happened. Can you see that this reversal happened at the 45-minute mark? Because this is the 45. Look at the time at the bottom. Monday, 14th November 2022, 06:45. So at 06:45, what did we get? We got a reversal. When did I say I like taking my trades? At the 15, the 30, the 45 and hour mark. Why? Because those are the times where market tends to want to reverse the most. What time was this trade? This trade was at the 45. Drop some 222s if this is making sense now. So you always want to catch the reversals, right? Because that's when the majority of momentum is on your side, all right? That's when majority of momentum is on your side, because now you're going to follow the trend, because now you're like, okay, market is now reversing, moving back into momentum. And that's the best time to take that trade, because there's too much power in that reversal, because it's continuing pushing back down with the trend, or back up if it's an uptrend. Look at what happened here. We had a what? Boom, floor, market pushed up, bounced at this area, pushed up again. Eventually broke, came back to retest once, came back to retest twice, came to retest 3 times, boom, massive fall. All right, massive fall. Critical area. If we were to pull this all the way to this left, right, we realize that we actually even had a ceiling to the left again. All right, look at what happened here. Market pushed into this area, bounced, boom, and pushed down. So this is a critical area, because look at how many things have happened around this area, all right? So now, another thing is, if price decides to break this critical area, where's our next critical area? It's this one here. Because remember, all we're doing is we're waiting to see what price wants to give us, and then we're moving in accordance to that. So if price breaks this area, it means this is not, but we can clearly see it is not breaking this area. This is a good area. This is a critical area, right? This was a floor, boom, market doing what? Respecting this floor now on its way to the downside. Right, but if it does break this area, obviously what we want to do, we want to identify the next best place. Now this was also a floor, market pushed in, boom, it bounced at this area, pushed up, gave us a ceiling, massive drop. So obviously, if the market was to push into this area here, not a bad place to sell, still, right? Still a valid place. But obviously we can see this is a critical area, market was respecting this area, market is slowly moving nicely in profits at this area, right? So with that being said, that brings me to the end of the session. Let me stop recording. How do I do this? Stop recording. But yeah, now I'm opening up for questions. If you guys have any questions just before we close off the session. It was a good session, all right? We took a trade, all right? GBP, JPY, cleared, made money, all right? It was an amazing session, all right? Market played out exactly how we wanted to play out. Nice thing about it is that I was also recording the session, so I'm going to drop the recording back in the chats, so you guys can go over and over and over it, make it make sense, right? And then see how I identify my flaws, how I identify my ceilings, what it is that I'm waiting for, and the patience of this game, all right? And that was all depicted on today's session. So I'm going to drop it back in the group chats. Let me stop recording. Yes.